right on the sides of my mug, I've got all these little cracks. I'm just gonna take one little tiny drop of water. Notice that my hand is supporting the clay from the inside so that when I push in, it's not actually gonna move the clay in. I don't want my clay to have dents in it. I don't want it to be dented in right there. I just wanna press hard enough to get those cracks smoothed away. I'm gonna get all of those cracks smoothed away because they will not melt away in the kiln. Contrary to popular belief, little clay globs and cracks will not be gone after your clay is baked in the kiln. Lots of people say to me, Mrs. Krause, I thought this little clay glob would just go away. Now it's hardened on there like a little rock, and it's actually kind of sharp. What should I do? I don't know. Just, yeah, I mean, it's just a bummer. So make sure everything is really smooth before you put it in the kiln so that it can come out looking nice and smooth. You also need to make sure the rim is very smooth. I've got some little globs up here, and I really need to make sure that those are smoothed away, because when I put this up to my mouth and I'm going to drink it, I don't want to have rough spots on there. Bless you. A lot of sneezing already from the clay house. Happening this morning, maybe. So you're gonna smooth all that out. Then you can start decorating it. It's really hard to smooth everything out once the decorations are on there, but you will have to do some smoothing at the end. So I'm gonna set that aside, and I'm going to make a rocket ship to go with my outer space theme. I've got some stars there, so I guess that's going with my theme. I don't need this anymore, so I'm gonna put that back. And I might draw some details on it with this tiny little toothpick. Those are up here on the supply table next to the shells. So when I'm gonna use these, I need to set them out of the way so that when I use the rolling pin, I don't roll them over and squish them and break them. So I'm gonna set those over there. I'm gonna cut the rocket ship out of this flat piece. So I'm actually gonna make it much thinner. The decorations do not need to be very thick. They just need to be a thin piece that's gonna stick out of the surface of your clay. So there we go. Oh, it's stuck to the canvas because I put it on a wet spot. Let me see if it's still big enough. Almost. Just flatten that part. Wow, my goodness. If your clay is really wet, it will stick to the rolling pin, but that's okay. All right, now I'm gonna press this out. Make sure that you get it cut out all the way. I'm gonna jiggle it a little bit, and then you can peel off those pieces and pop it out. There we go. Now I'm gonna put this on before I decorate it because I'm gonna have to smooth it on. I'm gonna have to use the Velcro toothbrush type method to score and slip this and pop it onto my mug. So I'm gonna have it, don't set your mug sideways, but I'm doing this so that you can see it. But I'm gonna have it right here. So I need to score and slip that surface too. And then I'm gonna press it on, supporting my clay on the inside, firmly pressing it on. And then I might just want to get one little drop of water on my finger and rub the whole thing so that it is smoothed in, focusing on the edges of it. Okay, there we go. I don't want this whole thing to be super slippery, so don't get too much water. If you get too much water on your clay, when it goes to dry, it's going to crack because of the puddles that are on the surface of your clay. So don't have puddles. Okay, now I'm gonna decorate this. I could add maybe like a little window or something. You might start to get little clay globs on this and you have to clean them off every once in a while. Otherwise it starts to get really messy looking. And then also I have other tools like this. These are tiny little loop tools, and you can use these to carve out of the surface of your clay. So if I want to have something look like fire at the bottom of this rocket, you need to take those little pieces, of clay and get them off of my work because I don't want that there. And make sure that you don't carve too deep into the surface of your clay. You don't want to cause there to be more reasons for your clay to crack and break. So be careful with those loop tools. I could write words with those. I could do any type of decorations that I want. If you have little bits of clay on there, just make sure you go over it and smooth it out when you're done carving. Okay, that is all. Okay, you can just take like a little pinch of clay if you need a little circle, and you can roll it in your palm and it'll get pretty round. You can just kind of push it in there. Now if you want it flat, just kind of flatten it. And then if you want something that's long and thin, you can roll out something like this, and there you have like a tiny little coil. You could use this as like, you could form it into letters, you could do whatever you feel like you need to do with that and attach it onto your work. That is going to be a letter A, I guess. I don't know, it's not ready yet, but you get what I'm saying. Also, when you flatten out your thin little slab, if you want to draw something on there and then cut out your own shape, you could do that. Please listen if you are going to make a handle, and if you are not going to make a handle, you may quietly keep working. Okay, I'm gonna move this out of the way. And I have this big lump of clay here. I need to make sure that it is really well squished together because I don't want to have any air bubbles in it. So I'm just kind of squishing it together, and I'm gonna make a nice big thick coil. So I'm gonna roll it on the surface of my mat. Notice how long it is getting. If we can imagine holding a handle that is this big, that's maybe a little bit too much. If I put this up to my mug, I can kind of measure it. Is that an appropriate size? No, but you know what I could do with this? I could make it a little bit smaller still. It's still a little bit thick. I don't want it to get too small. It does need to be probably about the thickness of your thumb if it is going to be this type of handle. If it is going to be a shape that you are cutting out and you're attaching it on, that's fine too, but just make sure it's nice and thick for the handle, because the handle needs to be stronger than some of the other parts of the project. So I'm gonna attach my handle right over here between my decorations. So I'm gonna kind of measure it and see, okay, this is about how big I want it to be. Now I'm gonna shape it to the way that I wanna imagine that I'm putting it on. So if I stop right here, that's the edge of my mug. Then I'm gonna take a cutting tool and trim that handle. So now I have these two nice flat pieces that can go right up against the edge of my mug very wonderfully, just like that. Now how do I need to attach it? Slip, score, and smooth. So I'm gonna get that toothbrush on there and scrub this really good. We really want to make sure that handle is attached well, because there's nothing underneath it supporting it. The rest of the mug, it's got the base, it is actually touching the table when it's standing up, but the handle is out in the air, it's hanging off of the mug. We really need to make sure that it is attached well. Oops, I forgot to slip and score the spot where I'm attaching it. There we go. Now I can press this on. I really need to press that on. Notice how I'm pushing towards the clay, and that isn't even good enough. Those of you who are working, I hope you're not making a handle, because you really need to see this part. I will not make your handle for you. Just so you know, you need to make it. If it falls off, I will not reattach it for you. I'm not gonna stay here until 5 o'clock tonight reattaching everyone's handles. Okay? Okay? Kaylin's like really upset about that, but okay. So press it on, make sure that cracks are smoothed out, and then use those tools that you have, because it's really hard to get down into those corners to get everything smoothed out. If you have a lot of gaps between your handle and the clay, you can take a little piece of clay, make a teeny tiny coil, and you can wrap it around just like a little scarf. You can just wrap it right around there and press it in. That will help give you some extra clay to smooth in. Make sure we can't see that that's actually there because that does not look very nice. But make sure that everything is really well smoothed in, even on this part of the handle. Now the handle might take you a good 10 minutes to do if you're going to do it well. When you are done, you're gonna look at your mat. What's on it? What do you got on there? Got some tools, you might have some cookie cutters. Where do the cookie cutters go? Yep, they go right up there. Where do the tools go? Yep, in the tool container at your table. These little loop tools that are made out of metal, you need to pick out any clay that's on them and put them back up here. Extra clay goes where? Where does the extra clay go? In the bag on the cart. Thank you. Now there's one more thing that I need you to do to get things ready for the next class. Once you have everything off of your mat, I need you to scrape it off. There's these little wooden boards that are up here by the supply table. Where are these little wooden boards? On the supply table. Yep, right there. You're gonna scrape your clay chunks off of your mat. It doesn't have to be perfect. Just scrape them off. And then see all these chunks I got off? Those need to just be wiped into the slip bucket. So I'm just gonna wipe them in there. And there's some loose pieces on my clay mat. So I'm gonna pick up my clay mat like this. It's like a taco. And I'm gonna shake the little crumbs to the middle. And then I am going to dump those little crumbs into that little slip bucket. And that is all. If you have time to grab a sponge and wipe down areas around the clay mats, that would be really helpful too. Thank you.